todas, hola a todos, no me lo van a creer. Hoy es un día increíble, es como recibir un regalo. ¿A qué me refiero? A que hoy vamos a entrevistar a un autor extraordinario del cual lo hemos buscado durante meses y meses y años y siglos y décadas para poder platicar con él. Y hoy es el día. Después de problemas con su agenda, con mi agenda, no podíamos encontrarnos. Hoy lo logramos, así que estamos muy emocionados. El día de hoy es como recibir una caja nueva de crayones, así de increíble. Vamos a platicar con, sí, hasta Lulo está emocionado. Sí, Lulo, sí. Vamos a platicar con Drew Daywalt. ¿Y quién es Drew? Pues Drew es ni más ni menos que el autor de que a todo mundo nos gusta, nos encanta, El día que los crayones renunciaron, obviamente también de la segunda parte, El día que los crayones regresaron a casa, y también es autor, por supuesto, de La Navidad de los crayones, pero no son los únicos libros que tiene. Tiene, por ejemplo, uno que solo se ha publicado en inglés, que es The Crayons Trick or Treat, que es buenísimo para Día de Muertos. Tiene uno de Star Wars, que no lo tengo, pero pronto lo voy a tener. Tiene The Legend of Rock, Paper, Scissors también. Así que hay muchísimo que platicar con él, que nos platique cómo se convirtió en un autor de libros para niños, porque antes de ser autor de libros para niños, era guionista en Hollywood. ¿Cómo hizo ese cambio? ¿Qué pasó? Bueno, pues para eso vamos a platicar con él.
You had the perfect childhood between this children's literature, but also the forbidden stuff that makes you stronger and curious. That's amazing. And the house and everything. You need to, well, I hate it when people says to me, you need to write about, but I, as a fan, I said to you, you need to write about that house.
I think I'm going to. I'm 53 now, and I'm finally going, I think I might have a story to tell.
I think. I'm a little bit sure. But, okay, I'm going to change my questions because this is very interesting that you told me.
Sure.
Which is your favorite monster of the classic Universal monsters?
You know, I have two children now. They're 20 and 14. But when they were little, like 7 to 10, I was able to show them the early monster movies because they weren't too scary. And my kids, they like the stuff that I like. So I was able to show them Dracula and Frankenstein and Creature from the Black Lagoon. And my son at the time was like 7 or 8, and he made the most amazing observation, and that revealed to me my favorite monster. He said, Dad, these monster movies, they're sad in a way. And I'm like, how are they sad? And his name's Reese. And I said, how are they sad, Reese? And he goes, well, all these monsters, the classic black and whites, he goes, they just want a girlfriend. And I went, oh my God, you're right. So the creature from the Black Lagoon just falls in love with the woman on the boat. The scientist, the marine biologist, my daughter's now going to be a marine biologist because of that movie, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Frankenstein just wanted a bride, but she found him hideous. Dracula, he's got his own problems, but he really was just after a girlfriend. And this is how my child interpreted it. And I thought, wow, yes. I would say that if I had to pick a favorite, I would say Frankenstein. Poor guy,
And do you know Guillermo del Toro's favorite monster is Frankenstein?
He lives not too far from me in California, I've heard. I'll go to some stores and people go, Guillermo del Toro just came in and blah, 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 blah. He just seems like a wonderful human being to me.
Yeah. I don't know him personally. Well, once in a movie conference, because I used to work in a newspaper, but we are not friends, and I think he's my best friend.
Yes.
And I always see all the interviews that are released on the social media, and he's going to start filming Frankenstein. So
really?
and the cast is very, very good cast.
Well, I loved his interpretation of Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was amazing.
I need to see it, so I'm very excited about it. If one day I will be in the United States, passing through your house, I will invite you to the movies to see it.
I'll be there. And then we'll get to see our triplet, because I think he's also a kindred spirit.
Yeah. Let's do it. So, because in Mexico, all this stuff about monsters and death is very popular.
Yeah.
El Día de los Muertos. El Día de Muertos, it's the most magnificent ceremony and of the Mexican culture, but also is part of the UNESCO's untangible heritage, the world heritage. So, for Mexicans like me, and for Mexicans who are not Mexicans like you,
right.
Maybe these kind of celebrations are very exciting.
Oh, very much so. I remember I have very little experience. I grew up in Ohio, which is pretty far from Mexico, but now I live in Southern California, so we do get a lot of Mexican culture there. But my real introduction, and you can tell me if this is a bad introduction or not, was the movie Coco that they did at, I think it was DreamWorks. I cried like a baby at that film. I was like, because I felt like they did a good job of communicating to people who are not Mexican what that really meant about relatives and family and ancestors and honoring them. I don't know. I felt that was really a good intro. Would you say that was a good representation?
It's a good one, but at the same time, it's very folkloric. You know?
Yeah, right.
But for example, Jorge Gutierrez, a friend of mine, made another movie called the Book of Life.
Oh, okay.
And it's very popular, and a lot of kids dress up like death or the characters of the movie. I recommend you that too.
Oh, okay. I'll watch that.
Not only Coco, but both are very, very good movies. And I was thinking about, do you live in California, or where do you live?
Hey, I live in just north of Los Angeles.
Okay. I just been in Los Angeles at the Leala Book Fair. A few weeks ago. But I was remembering when you talk. I'm looking for a book to show it to you. But I just remember the tree of, how is it called? I'm looking. The good things about being at the phone is that I can show you some books. Ray Bradbury have a story about the Day of the Dead.
Did he? I don't know that one. That's cool.
Amazing. I'm looking for it, but this is Ray Bradbury. In Spanish, is called The Tree of the Witches, but
okay.
The American, the original title is different. But I recommend you this one because it's very nice. It's like a travel through the world with different celebrations of death. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I'm in. I love all that stuff.
And
it's one of my favorite seasons.
And Ray Bradbury.
I know.
That's what I asked you about California, because he used to live in California.
That's right.
So, my questions dropped dead in the page, but I want to go back to your books.
Okay.
You're world famous about these little guys called crayons.
Yeah.
All the kids love your books. I don't know what you did, but I hate you so much because it's amazing the way that you wrote this story with these apparently simple characters, but very full of joy and doubts and But this was just the beginning. El día que los crayones renunciaron. That was the first. And then you made a second one called El día que los crayones regresaron a casa, the day the crayons came back.
Yep.
And you decided to celebrate Christmas with them too.
Oh, wow.
And in Mexico we have the Spanish. But did you even, when you was a kid in that Victorian house, did you even imagine that all this could happen to you?
Well, I dreamed it. You dare to dream, you know? It's one of those things like, you know, I love that you... I love that you said you hate me. I love you for that. I love you. But I understand because, like, I wish I could say, well, here's my mathematical equation for how to make the perfect book. Because there's a bunch of books you've never heard of that I've done that I actually like just as much, if not more, than crayons. But you know, at the end of the day, you just don't know. You don't know where the cultural focal points are going to land. For instance, when I was little, when I started paying attention to those names on the pages of these authors, I just couldn't believe the joy I was receiving from them. I was like, it's paper and ink, and it was changing my life as a little boy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is magic. It's absolute alchemy. What's happening? I didn't know the word alchemy yet, but that's how I felt. So I was like, I want to do that for children when I grow up. That was one of my dreams. Whether it was going to be movies or TV or books or anything, I wanted to make other people feel like these men and women were making me feel with ink and paper. And to me as a child, I was like, what? How? You know, you're looking at the physical object and you're not... I wasn't able to intellectualize it at the time, but I was able to absorb it emotionally. And I was like, wow, this feeling, I want to give that. And for a long time, people, when they would ask me, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up, Drew? I would say, after I found out that Santa Claus, you know, had helpers at the mall, cover your ears, kids. Once I found out that Santa had helpers, I said, I want to be a mall Santa. And everybody looked at me like, what the heck's wrong with this kid? I'm getting the beard now, but I got to just grow it out, and I got to eat some more ice cream. But, you know, I really wanted to give that joy back. And that was, seriously, I really was like, I want to be a mall Santa. And I would get laughed at. Everybody else wanted to be the Hulk or Spider-Man. You know, I was like, no, I want to be Santa Claus or an elf maybe. But I wanted to give that joy back. And I went to college at Emerson College in Boston for creative writing. And even then, I guess I was 18, 19, 20. I majored in creative writing with a concentration, two concentrations. One was children's literature, and the other was screenwriting. And I thought, well, you know, no matter where the coin lands, hopefully I'll get one of these two when I get out. And my goal at the time was, I want to go work at Disney. And if I have screenplays and I have children's literature, you know, and it was a deep dive into children's literature. You know, we went into like Charles Perrault and Grimm brothers and Hans Christian Andersen. And then even before them to like the origin, the straight up dark origin of children's stories as like these lessons, you know, don't go in the woods, don't go in a stranger's house. You know, and they weren't telling children what, you know, really would happen sometimes, but they would say, well, there's a wolf in there, and there's a monster, and there's a witch, and she'll eat you. And we really have softened it for our kids. But, you know, our lives are not as hard as they were, you know, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. But so I got this wonderful education at Emerson in children's literature, and it just stayed with me, you know? It stayed with me. And I tried movies first. And I did okay. I wrote some TV shows. I got to write for Disney Channel. I wrote a show called Buzz Lightyear, and I wrote Woody Woodpecker, and you know, I had fun. It was good. It was a good time. I wrote a show called Timon and Pumbaa, which was the lion and the meerkat and the boar from Lion King, and that was super fun. And I got to do a movie that was produced by A Band Apart, which is Quentin Tarantino's company. And it was a feature film, and it was a gangster heist movie. So it's all that rated R Tarantino goodness, but the movie didn't do well. It it went to video back in the days, 1999, 2002. Back in the days when going straight to video was not a good thing. Pre-streaming, it was like, oh, my movie just went straight to videotape. Oh, well. Oh, and then the calls didn't come in, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I'm so close. I almost had the brass ring. I had the blessing of the king. But the movie was. I think the movie was okay. It just ended up being a bit of a feathered fish because there were different forces pulling at it, and I was new, and I didn't know who to listen to and what to do, and So, but it was a wonderful experience as far as my personal and professional life goes. But then I thought, maybe I should give Kid Lit a chance. I should write that children's book that I've been meaning to write for 10 years, and that was Crayons. So that's where it came about.
Wow! But also, you made I don't know how to say it, a reverse way, because you made the Star Wars book, right? A picture book about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't have it. That's why I don't want to talk about it, because I don't know it. But
that's okay. That's okay.
Right? You did a book about Star Wars, right?
Yeah, it blew my mind. I've left social media. I left social media in 2016 when the politics in America, as you know, it went crazy. There were relatives unfriending each other and families fighting, and I was like, I'm out. So I left social media. I had to wean because you can't leave social media. You'll freak out. But between 2016 and 2019, I was done. But before I had left, the folks at Lucasfilm and Disney had noticed I tweeted a lot of Star Wars stuff, memes and pieces of movies. And I was a big Star Wars fan because, again, going back to 7 years old in 1977 with my sister in that Chapel Hill movie theater, it was Chapel Hill Cinemas, I'll never forget it. Seeing Star Wars was the most singular, important event of my life regarding storytelling. And I thought, wow, I want to be George Lucas. I want to be Dr. Seuss. I want to be Tolkien. I want these. So they saw me tweeting and posting things, and they said, wow, do you like Star Wars? And they contacted me privately and said, would you like to write a Star Wars book? And I did fall off my chair. I was like, yes, I don't care, any little piece of the universe. And what was good about that book, and I think you'll enjoy this, is it was after The Force Awakens came out, and they had said to me, like they flew me up to San Francisco, and I got to meet the producers and everybody, and they said, when they made the movie, there was 20 minutes of story on The Force Awakens that they didn't cover because there wasn't room for it, and it really wasn't the main story, so they cut it out. And it's the first 20 minutes of adventure that BB-8, the little round guy, it's BB-8's adventure, because in the first few moments, they're in that camp, and Poe says, "You gotta run, get out of here. Here's the map to Luke." Boom, and he gives it to him. He says, "Get out of here." And then BB-8 goes into the desert at night. And he looks back at the village, and when he looks at the village, it's on fire and there's explosions because the stormtroopers are coming. And then he goes into the darkness, and then we follow Poe, and then we follow the other characters, and we end up meeting back up with BB-8 about 20 minutes later when Rey rescues him, and from the guy with the little dude with the net, right? Mm. But we don't know how he got from running off in the desert to getting caught in the net. And the producer says, we would like you to tell that story in picture book form. And I'm like, wait, so I get to tell 20 minutes of the Star Wars canon? They were like, yeah, it'll be canon. I was like, achievement unlocked, you check the box. So I proceeded to freak out for 6 months trying to come up with a story that I felt was worthy, because it's like someone saying you get to write one of the books of the Bible. It's like, oh, man, what do I do? What if I screw this up? And at the end of the day, I decided, I pitched them. They said, well, we want your ideas. So I went up there and pitched them. And I said, I got a spiritual take. It's almost religious. I'm not a religious person by nature, but I hope that's okay. And they're like, okay, Star Wars is a religious epic. It is in fact the hero myth, and it's it's the Messiah myth, and all that stuff. And they said, yeah, what is it? And I said, well, BB-8 has to get this map back to the rebels, and I want him to be tempted by other challenges in the desert. Because if he has to make this, the idea is that he has to make a ship. He has to get there on time to make the ship off the planet to get where he's going. But if he stops to help anyone, he'll be late. So he stops a family who is starving because he knows where there's some food in one of the old Star Destroyers, and he stops to help an animal who's injured. There's med packs that he has to go get. He helps a robot who's been captured himself and gets him out, so he helps somebody out of captivity. So it's almost biblical, right? And I thought they're just going to tell me, you're crazy, go back to the drawing board, we need more space battles. But they didn't. They got behind it, and they said, yeah, this is great, do it. And I did it, and it's one of the stories I'm actually most proud of, because it's a wonderful parable for children on the degrees of goodness. Like, yes, you have this big thing you got to do, but there's other things along the way that may interrupt your big good mission with other moments of goodness and kindness. And, at the end of the day, because he helped the one robot escape captivity, that robot helps him later on. And then Rey rescues him, so she comes out and rescues him. And it's one of her moments of small kindness that he had just been showing throughout his story, if that makes any sense.
It's amazing. It's amazing how the things happen, but also how you contribute with this fantastical dream. Because yes, we are always dreaming in something for the future and wanting to something happen.
Yeah.
But we wake up every day to make it a little closer to that many dreams that we have.
Yes.
At the end, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And later, I found this little guy talking about
it.
Yeah, I got it. I got it just a few weeks ago when we was going to have the interview.
Oh, okay.
And I love it because, well, it's perfect for these days.
Yeah.
Close to Halloween, but also you find a way to make them everyday guys. I don't know how to say it.
No, that's exactly it. Hi, Kitty.
This is Lulo. Say hello. Hola, Lulo.
Oh, Lulo. Oh, what a cute kitty. I love cats. I love all animals. Kids and babies and animals, man. I get it. That's hilarious. It's going to give you a mustache. It's going to go right there. Well, they are everyday guys. When I wrote the original book, when it came out, the book has a really interesting story, actually. I sat down in 2003. My wife was pregnant with my now 20-year-old child. It's a 20-year journey. And I was like, I just come off of the Tarantino thing, and I was like, I gotta have something that my daughter can see that's not rated R with F words every other word, because that's kind of, I was writing in Hollywood, these big adventures, rated R and stuff. I was like, I want something for my daughter, and I did come from children's literature, so my heart was there. And I poured out I found this. I was literally sitting in my office, and I had this box of crayons. I'm like, where'd that come from? I was 33 at the time, and I was like, I don't remember. I mean, they're just kind of ubiquitous. Crayons are just in your house. And I didn't have any children yet, so I was like, how do I have crayons? I emptied the crayon box onto the desk, and was like, each was naked, and I somewhere along the way, I nervously peeled it off or whatever, and blue was teeny. I mean, I wish I had them with me. I'd show them to you. You'd be amazed that they actually look like the same characters. And I've been a script doctor in Hollywood where I was fixing other people's dialogue too, as one of my jobs. One of my day jobs was to fix bad dialogue before it became a movie.
Wow.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
I didn't know that job even exists.
Yeah, it was. I had just done a big project with. I don't know if you know the director Tony Scott. Tony.
Some guys.
Yeah, just okay. He was. Oh, I miss Tony. He was a wonderful human being, and he was a mentor to me. He was so kind.
Well,
he had a somewhat sad streak, but he was really funny. He was such a nice person. My heart, I miss him, but he gave me quite a bit of free education when I wrote a project with him. You know, when I sat down to write Crayons, I looked at those little characters and thought, oh, what am I good at? Like, I don't know what their story is, but I want to tell a story about crayons, because at the time there weren't many books on crayons at all. And I was like, oh, I know, I'll write monologues, because I write dialogue. So I type. What do I write? I'm going to do, this is how little I knew about kids at that moment. I wrote letters of resignation as if they were quitting, like a job. So the first draft of that was kind of aimed at adults without knowing it, because I just didn't have kids in my life. And then I crafted it down so it was just not about quitting a corporation or, you know, the water cooler, you know, office cubicle kind of thing. And it was more like aimed at a child on a childlike level. But I kept the characteristics of those adult characters in those crayons. And then later, many years later, 10 years later, when the book was published in 2013, it was a 10-year journey just to get a book in my hands. People said, oh, wow, you've really captured the sort of banal and thievish, immature nature of children in your characters. So I was like, oh, joke's on you. Those are adults. I was writing adult characters, not kids. I said, so what you're seeing is how we all act as adults. You know, we're guilty of that. We all have that sort of jealous, irritated, depressed, insecure 7-year-old in here. And I was just doing that. So, and I was writing colloquially because I had been for 10 years at that point. 12 years I'd been writing screenplays. So I really had paid a lot of attention to dialogue and the way we really speak, broken sentences and ellipses and dashes and half thoughts and, you know, all of that, like, if you were to, like, transcribe everything that you and I are talking about, there's just all this broken sentences and interruptions. And, you know, it's a beautiful melody of interaction. And I thought, I want to do that in a picture book, because picture books could be, and especially in the old days, were very staid and proper. You know, it was good English because you're trying to teach children to read and write. No, I'm just going to talk like we talk. And that's why those characters, I think, feel that way.
Wow, what a journey! Journey! Everything since that house, a Victorian house, to the your job as a movie writer, and this, everything is perfectly connected, isn't it?
It is. But it's built on a string of failures, though. Like,
yeah,
the 1990s were just failure after failure. But really getting good shots at things. I was getting the shot at the big stuff, but it was like, and I tell people, you know, in 2003, when my movie career was starting to falter, I felt like I fell down, or I was knocked down by Hollywood, which I guess that's a little melodramatic, but, you know, I did feel that way at the time. But truly, and I truly feel this, I was caught by a million children's hands, you know, like the kids got me. The kids, when Hollywood was like not working, I wrote this thing for children and they went, "We get you." And all the hands held me up. And it was beautiful. It was an emotional thing. Well, like in 2013, when the book hit the New York Times bestseller list, I haven't told anyone else this, but I'll tell you, keep it just between you and me. Okay.
Okay. Nobody's going to see this video.
No, just kidding. But no, I don't. I don't actually. I'm gonna share this. I've never shared it before. When the day the Crayons Quit hit the New York Times bestseller list, we were in such financial dire straits that my kids we couldn't even afford to buy meat for 2 weeks. We were in bad shape financially, and I was like, I'm 43. I should be providing better for my children, and I'm not. And I really had a crisis. And that book yanked us right out of that. And I thought, well, maybe this is destiny or something. I mean, I don't want to think too lofty, but maybe I finally was doing the thing I was supposed to do, you know, because it was my journey, you know?
Yeah. Wow, yeah, because everybody sees your books and we imagine that everything was simple, but because you make it feel simple.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and all the journey that you are telling us about this is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that very, very, very much because you found this way to be yourself. I always said that we are always trying to find that space where you fit perfectly and you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But we are lucky. What's that? I don't know what I said, but did you saw that?
I thought you did that on purpose.
No, I don't know what happened. It wasn't me. But
as soon as you said perfect, it like...
Let's try again. It was so perfect. No, that was...
Yep, destiny is not going to allow you to have that. It was the magic of the moment.
So, in that space where you fit perfectly and you feel comfortable and you find your space in the space.
Yes.
But nobody have that being so lucky as you are or me with problems and everything. But the way that you find that when you was a kid trying to tell stories in any other way you want to tell stories, and you got it, but the process is not easy. It's not an thing.
No,
So,
it's a zigzag. Your path is like, and it's for me. It was mounting failures. I was like, maybe I just shouldn't do this.
But how many of that failures are you willing to make it once again? Do you imagine your life with all that failures, or do you think, yes, I will do it once again, each one of that failures to be me?
Yeah, I would do it again. Because you know what? I think the difference between having something so wonderful happen to you at 43 versus 23 is a big difference. I couldn't have done it. I had a writing teacher at Emerson named Jack Antos, he's a luminary now. He's won Newbery Awards, and he's a great author. He's a fantastic children's author. But at the time, he was teaching me at the end of, because I took his class a couple times. It was a creative writing class, so you could repeat it. And then finally, he's like, "You can't take this anymore." And I'm like, "Well, I want to take it anyway." And he's like, "Well, you can sit there and do it, but I can't grade you." I was like, so I'd audit the class. But Jack's he became sort of my faculty advisor too. And he said, at the end of the school year, he took me aside and he said, "What are you going to do now that you're going to graduate?" And I said, "I think I'm going to go to Hollywood." And he's wonderful but blunt. And he said, "Nope, don't do it. You're not a screenwriter." I'm like, "That's a terrible thing to say." And he goes, "Well, you need to go to New York because you're a children's book writer." He's like, "I teach a lot of people, and you're one of the ones who can do this." And I was like, "I don't know, Jack. I want to try movies. I don't want to be Dr. Seuss now. I want to be Quentin Tarantino." And he's like, "Okay, good." And of course, being 23, 22, you don't listen to the guy who knows. You have to do it yourself. He's like, "The stove's hot. Don't touch it." And I did. And so what happened in 2013 that was kind of funny is, now that's a 20-year jump. From 93 to 2013, is that 20? Yeah, 20 years. The book comes out, it makes the New York Times bestseller list, and I get this phone call, and this older man says, "Is this Drew Daywalt?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I told you so, you idiot." And I went, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, congratulations, kid."
Wow.
So... And I said, I said, "When are you?" I was going to go to New York City that weekend. And I was like, "I'm coming to New York," because I knew he's East Coast. And I said, "When are you going to be in New York? I would love to, buy you a coffee for all the wonderful advice that I didn't take." And he laughed. He goes, No. And when we met in New York, he said, "I'm glad you didn't take my advice because it might not have happened." He said, But 10 years, 20 years of, marinating in Hollywood allowed you to go and learn to write dialogue, learn character, and then bring something new to children's books because people weren't bringing that kind of colloquial, modern dialogue to characters. And he's like, that's what you've done. And he's like, I don't know that you would have done, you might have had a different journey. And I said, well, I'm glad for it too, because boy, are you grateful when you make it later in life. You're so grateful.
That was your path.
It was. It had to happen that way.
And when you see it time after, and when you see it with the distance, you understand how it happened. But that's a thing that I don't understand about your work. I need to tell you.
Okay.
Are you trying to end with all the supplies of the stores? First the crayons, then the scissors.
That's funny.
The paper. Are you going to use all the supplies?
I had an editor ask me that question about 5 years ago, and I had to think about it. She's like, "Why are you doing this?" And she's like, "It's all these little objects that in reality, they don't speak and they don't have voices." And I said, you know what? I think I don't think, now I know. It goes back to my childhood, like most writers, wherever you're at your arrested state of development. I'm about 8 or 9. So you take yourself back to that point. And what I realized is that at that age, I was the youngest of 6. It was a house full of, a mom and dad who are harried and working and trying to pay the bills the best they can. They both go to work and they saw extreme trauma. And when they would come home and have they're trying to have peaceful time, but they've got teenagers, somebody's, playing the electric guitar upstairs, and 2 people are blasting the TV, and one of them's arguing with somebody, and then there's one on the phone, and then 3 other kids from the neighborhood come in and start pouring themselves cereal. I mean, my house was utter chaos. And a lot of times I was the little guy. So I was constantly being told to shut up, sit down, go in the other room. You're too young to go with your brothers. You can't do that yet. I want to ride a motorcycle. No, you can't ride a motorcycle. You're 5. So I didn't know this till later, but what I ended up feeling was like I didn't have a voice. So I think I give voice to the voiceless now because of that. And I think one of the reasons that this resonates with children likely is they feel like I felt, which is, no one's listening to me. No one's taking me seriously. I have a voice. I have emotions. I have all these very strong opinions, and they're telling me to, sit in the back seat and buckle up, and I don't get a vote. And I feel like by giving these characters voices, that's clearly what Crayons is about. If you want to psychoanalyze it, it's like, wow, they don't get a choice. Duncan grabs them, and he's going to do a fire engine, whether you like it or not. And they're like, no. And then the scene goes for most of my books is somebody, and I didn't know it till an editor pointed it. It's like, as an author, you just don't know. You need critics and you need editors to tell you someone else has to psychoanalyze you. And then you go, oh, I think they're right, or they're dead wrong. But in this case, I think they were right, because I want kids to feel heard, and I want them to feel loved, and I want them to laugh. And I think if I can get mom and dad to laugh, because the jokes are for them too. If mom and dad can laugh, the children can laugh with them, and I've created community in a family, and also hopefully given voice to the voiceless. Yeah.
Wow. And at the end, we are just like terror monsters looking for love.
Exactly. Isn't that the truth? We're just like monsters who want love. We're very simple creatures. Feed us and hug us, and we'll be fine.
Yeah. Of course, we will. Yes. When I was on Houston when this book was released, and I bought it because I know what I'm not personally, but I used to be children's book designer before being a writer, and I designed some of Adam books into Spanish. So when I saw this, I said, "Oh no, this guy is going to end with all the supply store."
I have one book that I just wrote. It's called, well, I'll tell you. It's about, those, did you guys play with those fortune teller, the paper things when you were little?
Yeah. Like
it's about one of those, and it's a fortune teller, and she gets lost at recess, and she befriends a potato chip with a bite out of his head. And they have a journey, and I modeled the journey after The Lord of the Rings, and I managed to get it in under 1,000 words, so I'm pretty proud of that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, okay, I have a game for you. Let's play rock, scissors, and paper.
Okay.
If you win, I will not make you the last difficult question.
Okay.
But if I win, I will make it.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. We doing this?
It's like this, right?
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, and then go.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
I don't see your hand. Oh, okay. One more.
All right, I'll get it back here. 1, 2, 3, go.
No way.
That's crazy. All right, you and me, we got to do 23 and me and figure out where there's something happening here, man.
Well, doesn't matter. The last question is, tell me a joke.
Tell you a joke. Oh my goodness, that is a difficult one.
Yeah, I know it.
You know what? I will tell you a joke that my daughter made up when she was 4. So it's a brand new joke. It hasn't been published. It's not anywhere, but it made me laugh. As a dad, I was a stay-at-home dad too. I would write and I would take care of the kids. Let's see if I can remember how it went. What does a cow say when you stand on its foot?
I don't know.
Move. Okay, so that goes over really well with kindergartners.
No, it's very good. It's very good. And how much did you enjoy your kids at kindergarten and in that time you wasn't the famous writer that you are today, but
no, it was so fun. I think I'm just made for kids that way because I'm one. Some of us just don't grow up. I'm just fortunate that I had the same sense of humor as a grade school child because I actually miss it. Now they're 14 and 20, and this is terrible, but I can't wait for grandchildren. It's like, but I won't say anything. They're too young, obviously. But I look forward to the time when I can, get the grandkids and do the same stuff with them because I love it. I love the joy and I love the exploration and the curiosity and sometimes the insanely blunt honesty, you got a big nose, your beard's weird, all that stuff. I think that's the greatest. Like, I did a school visit last week on the East Coast, and I was reading Rock, Paper, Scissors, and one little kindergarten girl in the front row said, "You're not reading it funny enough." And the teachers were trying to correct her. They're like, no, be nice to the author. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That makes my day. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I got down and I said, okay, so I'm not being funny. She's like, no, you're not funny at all. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to make it funny. And then another girl, she'd pile on. She's like, and read it slower. You're reading it too fast. And the teachers were like, they were panicking because they were like, oh my God, our kids are being terrible to this author. And I'm like, no, I'm a dad. B, I've done a lot of these readings, so I get it all. It's like there's not a big difference between like, a kindergarten class picture book reading and like doing stand-up comedy at 2 a.m. for drunks. It's a very similar experience. You just have to roll with it. But like, okay, so you want it funnier and you want it slower. I know. And then y'all just, and I was like, okay, that's slow enough. She's like, that's too slow. Okay. And then she's like, that's funny. So, making kids laugh is everything to me. And, I would say the thing I'm most proud of in life is the fact that I got to be there for my kids when they were growing up and to be that dad, I had a blast.
That was one of my questions. That how difficult it is to be funny, because sometimes naturally we make some jokes and think about funny things, but when you try to write it, for example, Peter Sees, the illustrator,
Yeah.
He was the first person that told me, you need to be a writer, you have to write. And when a few months ago I was in the United States, in New York, presenting my first picture book and my first book in English, all that the same.
Congrats. That's wonderful. Congrats.
Yeah. And I asked him, why you said that to me when many years ago?
Yeah.
And he said, because you are funny.
Yeah.
But my stories isn't funny. I don't know how to write funny because, well, my books are pure drama.
Right.
But when I see your books, I said, I want to write funny like him. How difficult is this?
Well, you know what? The only advice I would say is make yourself laugh. Like, I am a very selfish writer when I'm writing. I'm not writing for teachers or parents or censorship councils, anything. I'm writing to make myself laugh. Like, I want to, I try to write like 3 or 4 hours a day. And I don't finish everything I want to finish on purpose because I want to come excited the next day. So it's like, I'll leave myself something hanging. Like, ooh, I want to write this next thing. Oh, but you know what? I won't. I'll save it for tomorrow. So I'm excited to get back in the chair. But I make myself laugh. Like, and then if it makes kids laugh, that's incidental. You know. But I do aim for a sophistication because I find that, I don't ever want to dumb anything down for kids because they can smell that. Oh man, they know it, and they just it's like broccoli mush or something. They're like, I'm not eating that. So I wanted to give them candy, but they don't know it's filled with vitamin nutrients because I want them to learn about something. Like, I may have a poo-poo joke in a book, but I'm also going to talk about Picasso. I maybe I'm going to have a booger or a dog bark, but I'm also going to have a mention of like Basquiat. I want them to, like, what? Actually, I found Monty Python did this really well. They had such base, stupid humor, but they would combine it with like an intellectual quality that just really appealed to me. I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. They've got a bicycle race with the greatest artists, the Impressionists. Like I remember they did Van Gogh and Renoir, and these guys were in it, but they were trying to paint and bicycle race or run or something. It was just so stupid, but it was also so elevated. Yeah. I want 2 layers to my books, and that's what entertains me. And again, it goes back to just being a speaker. I think you should just be selfish when you want to be funny. Just go try and tickle your fancy. Just like, wow, what do I think's ridiculous and stupid? Oh, I'll try that. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It takes a lot of revision.
That's an amazing advice. I will take it, and I'll tell you later how it's going.
Yeah, send me that book. I know it'll be a book. Send it to me.
Oh, yeah. Of course. If you bring me, I will ask Yara for your contact, and I'll write to you, and I'll send you.
Okay. Well, let's trade books. I'll send you something.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah. So, thank you very much for your time. It has been an amazing talk, and thank you for receiving us and tell us all that amazing stories. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, me too. I do. I appreciate it. Thank you.